Hi, everyone. It is my absolute immense pleasure and honor to be sitting here talking to the one and only Leah Hechtman. Leah, you'll all be familiar with, is one of the biggest names and shining stars in the world of naturopathic medicine. She's a practitioner, she's an author, she's a speaker, she's a writer, she's a PhD candidate. She is everything that is wonderful and important about natural medicine, particularly women's health. Good morning, Leah.
Good morning. Thank you for meeting with me and chatting to me.
Oh, and thank you so much for coming to our symposium. It's a huge privilege to have you there, and it really just completes the amazing lineup we have. We have, these incredible women who all have something to share, and most importantly, who all have a passion for the connection that we have in our incredible industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your practicing life and your passions, and how your journey to be the naturopathic superstar that you are, what route did it take?
What a massive question.
Apologies.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Like most people, I found naturopathy through my own health. I was always going to study medicine, but I was too sick to finish school. So I was able to study one naturopathy subject a term at the beginning. That was all I was able to physically endure. And there was me, 17 years of age, with mature age students and all sorts of ages. And back when I studied, it was much more mature age than not, because there was no fee help and there was no anything like that. So who really could afford it? But thankfully, my parents supported me with it, because I was always going to study alternative medicine or complementary medicine after medicine. But flipped it around the other way and didn't end up studying medicine as yet. Don't know that I will, but not sure. Life changes. Decided to start a PhD and have kids as opposed to start medicine when I was at that point. So yeah, it's a different way of doing the journey, but it definitely got me to where I wanted to be so far. And I love what I do. So I'm hoping that it's helpful for me and helpful for other people. So that's the goal. Really.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of people love what you do. I mean, so many of our attendees and our community members in general have trained for their careers using your textbook and using your wisdom. And it's something that I always find absolutely fascinating about you is the way your mind works. I can listen to an interview with you or a podcast with you, and it can be on a topic that I feel I know really well. And yet I'm pausing it every 5 seconds to make notes and thinking, I'd never thought about that before. So it's wonderful to bring the kind of really elastic thinking and curiosity that you naturally possess into our industry. And, a huge thank you for the way you look at things differently. It's really, really enlightening.
Thank you. Look, I hope it helps others. I mean, it's just the way my brain works. I remember sitting as a student and being told simple things like chase tree on waking before the sun rises and going, what? Why?
Why?
I don't know that I agree with that. And, I remember finishing college going, I felt I was taught how to learn, but I didn't feel confident like everybody does. And then I remember teaching and thinking, we don't have systems with how we're teaching. We need to create that, which is how the textbooks came about. So, me at 27 got the contract with Elsevier because I was like, well, I'm being paid by universities and colleges to write course notes. This is stupid. Let's streamline it. And I was on the board of an NHAA, all that sort of stuff. But for me, health is around, I always start with intuition. I always start with what my instinct is. And there was that beautiful quote by a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and I can't remember the name of the person, but it will come to me later. There is no science without intuition. And there is no science without intuition. And I think, when I started studying naturopathy, it was very much, there was a lot of dogma around it. There was a lot of wisdom and there was a lot of tradition, but there was a lot of confusion around how we acquired that information and what we could do with it. So for me, I wanted to try and understand how to create that.
Yeah. Gosh, that's once again, my brain is just going to have to unpick that a little bit.
Sorry, I have that way. And I always, I think I actually need to start putting a note when I do a presentation to stop and then to repeat it. Because I think that's what I do a lot.
Because all the rest of us will still be galloping along behind you going, oh, yes, right. Wow, yes. That actually totally brings me to my next question, which is another big one. Can you tell us a little bit about the amazing topic that you'll be presenting at our seminar. I mean, just let me read the title out, because the title itself takes me kind of several steps to catch up.
No,
So
same.
we'll be talking about the maternal influence of methylation, microchimerism, microbiome, and trauma transference. See the way that trips off the tongue so easily. Can you please tell me how it looks in your brain?
Okay. Look, when you guys, contacted me and asked if I'd want to speak, I was really privileged and really grateful. And I sat there and I went, okay, this is where we're at the moment with medicine, with our understanding of women, with our understanding of fertility. I'm going to have the privilege of speaking amongst some beautiful women that I know and love. Yeah. And the intention of the conference is all around the strength of women and the fortitude of women and the wisdom of women. So I looked at it and I sat back, and of course you come up with a clever title and whatever, but I sat back and I looked at it and I go, how can I impart where I think we're at with the importance of women as women independently, as women as mothers, as women that influence the future of the next generation? How can we look at how are we passing down wisdom through generations? How can we look at how we're transferring the good stuff and the bad stuff? And how can we as clinicians take that information and look at what changes we can make? If we do this conference in 5 years, in 10 years, I'm absolutely certain that the research around neuroplasticity and the concept of neuroplasticity for the whole body is just going to be astounding. So we're at this beautiful place in medicine, which is we're looking at it and going, we can actually start really changing the body. We can really, really start changing humankind. And, the knowledge that we've got from the microbiome, just that in its own right. We can look at the concept of the microbiome being, the signaling between generations, the signaling between changing how systems work and don't work. And I wanted to tie that all together and give everyone a snapshot of where we're at with science, a snapshot of where science is going, and a snapshot of how our fundamental understanding of the spirituality of being female can really tie into that. And then how we can really make a huge impact to go and look at it and go, of course, there's trauma. There's trauma in every single generation. And we've got, these incredible studies that are coming out now, looking at the quad generational studies of trauma transference. And I smile because the geek in me loves it. The human in me goes, holy shit. But nonetheless, I look at it and I go, we've got this data that's coming out now that shows that children that are born from mothers that had PTSD when they were pregnant are born with PTSD, and they're born with low cortisol levels. So we have this ability to start to look at it and go, absolutely, everything we do as clinicians, as human beings, changes mankind. So let's really look at what we can do.
You're absolutely right. That seeps into my brain, and my brain goes, oh, that's interesting. And then it washes into my soul that kind of shudders. Yeah.
And then we go, oh, wow, there's my mum and there's my mum's mum. And, and we just feel it. And we feel the intensity of our journeys and our soul history and our family genealogy. And we look at it and we go, with all of that, baggage, with all of that information, how can I contribute more meaningfully? How can I help more people? How can I make this life even better? And then now as a mother, I look at it and I go, yeah, I really need to clear out that cupboard quickly so that I don't pass that on.
Wow. So once again, my brain is racing with all of these questions.
That's fine.
I'm just hoping you've got some answers for us.
I've got some windows. I've got some insights. I've got some strategies. I've got some clinical things that I do. But the way I sort of see it, and I take this step back and I go, okay, so I've been in this profession for long enough now. I've seen the ebbs and the flows and the rhythms of how we do things. And I think so much of the direction of how we do things, when we reclaim it as clinicians and we go, no, we're actually going to now strategically maneuver how we work with our patients based on their goals and their needs, rather than drug companies and all that sort of stuff, which our profession doesn't really do it, but mainly medicine does. And we look at it and we go, yeah, I've got some tools now. I've got some understanding of how it works. And now I can then tease in our therapeutics and go, where do they fit? And then the beautiful part is that then science then goes and does a clinical trial going, yes, X creates Y, and then we have evidence to use it. But it always has to start at the wisdom and the insight of what is possible.
And the questions.
The questions.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow.
It's a big goal. Yeah. And I'm sure it will come together beautifully. And I've been, racking my brain for months, sort of finding bits of data and theories and looking at patterns in patients and looking at the wisdom that is around me to try and pull it together for us to then propel forward. Like I remember I spoke on microchimerism for mind. I can't even remember how many years ago it's now. 5 years ago, and it was the precipice of where the data was really, really fascinating. And you look at how microchimerism, which is essentially the soul sharing between the fetus and the mother, and the residual impact to the mother as well as the child. We've got the science now for how cells transfer. Then we've got the microbiome data for how cells transfer. And then we've got methylation. If mum's methylation is all wobbly, then of course the child's is all wobbly. And we perpetuate the patterning of trauma or whatever it might be. And so we take that step back and we go, wow, look at what we can actually start to do. Let's get really sophisticated with our treatment. Let's get really intuitive. Let's get really broader perspective of how we can help them.
I love some of those keywords you just used there, really kind of sum up the way I like to think about education in our community. Sophisticated, and tools and moving forward. To me, it's always about how do we integrate this incredible knowledge that we're learning about now? How do we give hope to people rather than make them feel fear? And how do we equip our peers with this knowledge? And this is why it's so, it's so huge to have you speak at the Women in the New World Symposium. And I know that all of these beautiful practitioners attending will leave with having had the beautiful connection that we're all looking forward to, but also with a little bit of a filling their intellectual cup a little bit too. And you'll be such a key part of that. What I really wanted to ask you, what are you most looking forward to at this symposium?
Connection.
Yeah,
perfectly.
That's what everyone has said. Yeah.
And it's connection with participants, it's connection with my peers, it's connection with people that work behind the scenes that have everyone has such an important role. The whole world of naturopathy, of natural medicine, runs in so many different ways, and it's about all of us remembering the importance of connection and remembering that we all play key roles to bring us all forward. Of course, I'm really excited to have hugs from a few individual people, but that's it's connection.
Yeah. Well, you have just elucidated that in your absolute trademark perfect way. Thank you so much. Thank you in advance for the incredible presentation I know you'll be bringing to us. Thank you for bringing yourself and your soul and everything that you do. And I can't wait to see you on the stage. Thank you so much, Leah.
Thank you.